Imagine sitting alone in your house, late at night, when suddenly your phone buzzes with a message from an unknown number, and it says, "Why are you awake?" Tonight's story, straight from the United States, will take you into a nightmare where reality and fear blur into one. From strange sounds on the porch, to terrifying photos appearing on her phone, what happens inside that quiet Pennsylvania home will keep you awake all night. But here's the chilling part. Just when she thinks it's safe, she looks outside the window, and what she sees under the street lamp will haunt you forever. If you want to know what happens next, stay with me till the very end. And if you love stories like this, don't forget to subscribe right now, drop your thoughts in the comments, and tell me what kind of horror story you want to hear next. The night was supposed to be ordinary, but nothing about it felt right from the moment the wind began rattling the old screen door on the porch. It was a small town in Pennsylvania, the kind where everyone knew each other, where kids rode their bikes until the streetlights flickered on, and where the woods pressed so close to the neighborhoods that shadows seemed to breathe. Inside a 2-story house with fading white paint, a young woman named Claire sat awake at 2 a.m., staring at the glow of her phone. She couldn't sleep, though she couldn't explain why. It was as if the silence outside was listening, waiting for her to close her eyes. Every creak in the house made her flinch. The sound of the refrigerator hum seemed louder than usual. Even the ticking clock on the wall felt sharp enough to cut through her thoughts. Then came the first sound. A low, dragging scrape across the porch, like something heavy being pulled across the old wooden boards. Claire froze. She lived alone. The neighbors' houses were close enough that she could see their porch lights, but not close enough to call for help without stepping outside. She whispered to herself, trying to calm down. It's just the wind. Probably the trash can. But the trash can was still chained to the fence after last week's raccoon problem. She stood, barefoot, and crept toward the front door. The porch light was on, casting a dull yellow glow. The scraping stopped. Nothing moved. The street outside was empty, just the faint hum of a highway in the distance. She locked the door again and backed away, her pulse racing. But before she could turn, her phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "Why are you awake?" Her breath caught. The hair on her arms lifted. She didn't reply, but the messages kept coming. "I can see you. Don't move." Her heart hammered as she turned off the screen, gripping the phone so tight her knuckles ached. She wanted to call the police, but what would she even say? That someone was texting her? That she heard something on the porch? Then the porch light flickered. Once. Twice. And the scraping sound started again. This time, it was closer, heavier, as if whatever was out there was moving toward the door. She backed up the staircase, her body trembling, but her phone buzzed again. The message chilled her blood. "Don't go upstairs." The house went silent. Even the refrigerator stopped humming, as if the whole world had paused to listen with her. She held her breath, her eyes darting to the dark windows. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked, sharp and desperate, then cut off suddenly. The phone buzzed again. "Look outside." Her legs locked. She didn't want to. Every instinct screamed not to. But something, curiosity, dread, the need to know, dragged her toward the window. Slowly, she pulled back the curtain. Across the street, under the flickering street lamp, stood a figure. Still, watching. It didn't move. It didn't wave. It only stood there, staring up at her window. Her phone buzzed one more time. "You finally saw me." Claire stumbled back from the window, her chest rising and falling so fast it felt like she couldn't get air. The curtain swung back into place, but the image of that figure under the street lamp burned in her mind like a scar she couldn't look away from. Her phone slipped from her hand, clattering on the hardwood floor. The sound seemed to echo through the house, too loud, too sharp, like it might draw the thing closer. She crouched to grab it, hands shaking, but the screen lit up again on its own. Another message. "Don't hide." Her pulse pounded in her ears. It wasn't possible. How did they know she'd stepped back? How did they know? She forced herself to check again, pulling the curtain open just enough to peek. The figure was gone. The street was empty. Just the orange glow of the lamp, the quiet line of parked cars, and the endless black of the woods pressing behind them. She told herself to breathe, to think, to call the police now before it went any further. But before she could dial, a faint tapping sound echoed from the back of the house. Not the porch this time. The kitchen window. Tap, tap, tap. Slow, deliberate, like fingernails dragging against the glass. Claire froze in the middle of the living room, every light in the house suddenly feeling too dim, too useless against the shadows pooling in the corners. The phone buzzed in her hand again. She didn't want to look, but her eyes betrayed her. Why'd you leave the curtain open? Her stomach dropped. She hadn't. She was sure she'd let it fall back into place. She was sure. Another buzz. I like when you watch me. The tapping grew louder, sharper now, like something impatient, something waiting. She crept toward the kitchen, each step heavier than the last, the floorboards groaning under her weight. She wanted to scream, to run out the front door and into the neighbor's house, but something about those messages pinned her in place, like invisible hands on her shoulders. When she reached the kitchen, the window was wide open. The curtains billowed inward, swaying like breath. And on the counter beneath the window, fresh muddy footprints trailed across the surface, leading down onto the tiled floor. Her phone buzzed again. This time, no words. Just a picture. It was her, standing in the kitchen, phone in hand, staring at the footprints. Claire's throat tightened. Her trembling fingers nearly dropped the phone again as the image glowed back at her, sharp and undeniable. It wasn't old. It wasn't staged. It was right now. Someone, something, was in the house with her. Her chest heaved as she spun around, eyes darting to every corner of the kitchen, every doorway, every shadow. The hum of the refrigerator kicked back on, but it sounded wrong. Too loud, almost distorted, like the house itself was mocking her fear. She took a single step back, heels sliding against the tile, her breath shallow. The muddy footprints trailed toward the darkened hallway, disappearing into the shadows beyond. Her phone buzzed again, vibrating violently in her palm. Don't turn on the lights. Claire's trembling thumb hovered over the screen. Her instincts screamed at her to call 911, but before she could press, another message came. They won't believe you. Her skin went cold. Whoever it was, they knew her hesitation. They knew her thoughts. The hallway loomed in front of her, silent and suffocating. Every creak of the old house felt alive, as if something moved with her in the dark. She forced herself forward, following the prints, her bare feet cold against the floor. Halfway down the hall, a new sound made her stop dead. Breathing. Not hers. Not steady. Heavy. Ragged. Coming from the living room she'd just left. Her stomach twisted as the phone buzzed again. Don't look back. Her eyes widened. She gripped the phone so hard it felt like it would shatter, her whole body locked between the urge to run and the command on the screen. Then another buzz. A photo appeared. It was her in the hallway. From behind. Claire's knees almost gave out beneath her. She clutched the phone to her chest, her pulse thundering so loud she swore whoever was behind her could hear it. The photo was impossible. Yet there it was, her figure frozen mid-step, the curve of her shoulders, her hair falling across her back. Whoever had taken it was only feet away. Her breath caught, shallow and sharp, every muscle in her body locked. She wanted to scream, to bolt, but her legs felt like lead. Slowly, almost against her will, her head began to turn. The hallway stretched behind her in silence, the faint glow from the porch light spilling across the floor. Empty. No movement. No figure. But the house no longer felt like hers. Every shadow seemed heavier, pressing closer, as if the walls themselves leaned in to listen. The phone buzzed again in her hand. Why didn't you listen? Her vision blurred with tears as she backed up until her spine hit the wall. She couldn't move any farther. She couldn't breathe. The air turned colder. From the living room came a faint, dragging sound, like fingertips sliding across the wall. Slowly, deliberately, getting closer. Her phone buzzed once more, but this time she didn't need to look. She already knew. The sound stopped just at the corner of the hallway. The silence was unbearable, thick enough to choke on. Then light. Her phone lit up with a new photo. Her own face, taken from inches away. Claire dropped the phone. It hit the floor with a dull crack, the screen flashing once before going black. The image of her own face, wide eyes, mouth half open, frozen in terror, was still seared into her mind. Her breath came in short gasps as she pressed herself harder against the wall, her nails digging into the plaster. She could hear the faint whine of the floorboards shifting, as if weight pressed down on them, slow and steady. Someone was standing just around the corner. The silence was worse than the noise had been. No more dragging, no more tapping, no more buzzing, just the low hum of the refrigerator in the distance and the pounding of her own heart. Then, soft as a whisper, a voice. Claire. Her whole body seized. The sound wasn't from her phone. It wasn't in her head. It was in the hallway with her. A man's voice, low and strained, as though it had been waiting too long to finally speak. She couldn't see him, but she could feel him. The air had shifted, heavy and sharp, carrying the faint scent of damp earth and rust. Claire's hands fumbled blindly against the wall until her fingers brushed the doorframe to her bedroom. She bolted inside, slamming it shut, twisting the flimsy lock with shaking hands. The room was dark except for the faint glow of the streetlight filtering through the blinds. Her phone lay abandoned in the hallway. She had no way to call for help. From the other side of the door came the slow, deliberate sound of footsteps. One by one, they stopped directly outside. Silence. Then a soft knock. 3 times. Followed by the voice again. "Why'd you lock the door?" Claire staggered back from the door, her bare heels scraping against the carpet. Her chest heaved, her breath so shallow it felt like she was drowning in the darkness of her own room. The knock came again. 3 slow, deliberate taps that rattled the thin wood like a heartbeat out of sync with her own. Her eyes darted around the room, desperate. The window. It was her only chance. She hurried to it, fumbling with the lock, but her shaking hands made it clumsy, useless. The blinds swayed as she yanked them up, revealing the pale glow of the street outside. And then she froze. Beneath the street lamp, the figure was back. Still. Watching. Just as it had been before. Her stomach twisted. If it was out there, then what was outside her bedroom door? The knock grew louder, more insistent. This time the wood groaned under the pressure, as though the thing on the other side was leaning into it, testing it. Claire's trembling fingers finally unlatched the window. She shoved it open, the cool night air rushing against her face. The faint smell of rain and asphalt filled her lungs, but it didn't feel like freedom. It felt like a trap. She placed one leg over the sill, her eyes locked on the figure under the lamp. It hadn't moved. Her phone buzzed. She didn't have it. The sound came from inside her room, from the darkness behind her. Claire's blood ran cold. Her phone was still out in the hallway, where she'd dropped it. She was certain. The sound shouldn't be here, not inside her bedroom. The vibration echoed against something hard, a faint rattle in the shadows behind her dresser. Buzz. 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 Her entire body shook as she kept one leg perched on the window ledge, torn between escaping into the night or turning to face whatever was inside with her. The knock on the door stopped. Silence pressed down on the room, so heavy it felt like even the air had gone still. She turned her head, just enough to glance over her shoulder. Something glimmered faintly in the dark, a small red dot, blinking in rhythm with the vibration. Her phone, propped neatly on the dresser, screen facing her. Claire's throat tightened. She hadn't carried it in here. She hadn't touched it since it fell in the hall. The screen lit up, washing her room in a pale glow. A new photo appeared. Her. At the window. One leg out, face half-turned in terror. Taken seconds ago. Her breath hitched, loud in the silence, and then the phone buzzed again with a message that scrolled across the screen. "Don't go out there. He's already waiting." Claire's grip on the window frame faltered. Her eyes flicked back to the figure beneath the street lamp. It hadn't moved, but now, in the pale glow, she noticed something she hadn't before. It wasn't standing still. It was swaying, back and forth, almost imperceptibly, like a pendulum, like something hanging. Her stomach lurched. Behind her, the phone buzzed again. This time, no words. A video began to play, its tinny audio spilling into the silent room. The screen showed her bedroom door, filmed from inside. The camera was low, tilted upward, as though someone crouched in the corner had been watching her the entire time. And then the doorknob began to turn. Slowly, deliberately. Her eyes shot to the real door. The knob trembled, metal scraping against metal, the lock straining as pressure pushed against it. Claire scrambled back from the window, torn between leaping into the dark yard below or facing whatever was inside with her. Her phone buzzed one last time. The message bled across the screen in stark, glowing letters. "You waited too long." The lock snapped. A sharp metallic crack echoed through the room as the doorknob twisted violently, the flimsy bedroom door swinging inward with a groan. Claire staggered back, pressing herself against the wall, her wide eyes locked on the dark gap that opened in front of her. Nothing moved. The hallway beyond was empty, a hollow stretch of shadows and faint light spilling from the porch window downstairs. Her chest heaved. For a split second, relief flickered in her mind. Maybe it was all in her head. Maybe. Then she saw it. A hand. Just a hand. Pale, thin, with dirt under the fingernails, curling slowly around the edge of the door. It gripped the wood, knuckles tightening until they cracked, holding it open as though savoring her terror. Her phone buzzed again, the sound rattling against the dresser. She dared a glance. Another photo. This time not of her. It was the inside of her closet. The photo showed a figure crouched low in the shadows, its eyes glinting white in the camera's flash. Claire's breath caught in her throat. The closet door behind her creaked. Claire's heart slammed against her ribs as the closet door shuddered, the old hinges whining in protest. She pressed herself against the wall, every nerve screaming to run, but her body refused to move. The door opened just enough for the darkness inside to spill into the room, thicker, heavier than the rest of the night. And then nothing. No figure. No sound. Just the faint smell of damp earth drifting from the closet's mouth, clinging to her skin like a warning. Her phone lit up one final time. The message was short. "You'll never sleep again." The screen went black, plunging her into silence. Outside, the street lamp flickered one last time before burning out completely, leaving the entire block in darkness. And in that suffocating black, Claire finally understood. Whatever had found its way into her house wasn't leaving. It was waiting. Always waiting.